Not all Final Fours are the same. As a result, it's not often when we're presented with an all-time epic thriller like we saw last night between UCLA and Gonzaga. The Bruins were incredible underdogs, not supposed to be here, and we all assumed they'd get mauled by the Bulldogs. But no one gave Mick Cronin's bunch the memo, and they locked themselves into a battle for the ages, forcing Mark Few's crew to dig deep into their bag to make some of the most incredible plays we've seen on this stage, culminating in one of the all-time most amazing shots we've ever seen. The first half was a contrast in shot creation, and a quick juxtaposition of the quality of shot might indicate that this game should not have been close. As Gonzaga continued to run their offense quickly and smoothly, they were getting right into the lane for layups over and over. Meanwhile, UCLA opted to take the air out of the ball, delaying their attack for up to 12 seconds at a time. And despite playing into the hands of the defense by creating tough shots against the shot clock buzzer, these cats from Westwood continued to hit tough shot after tough shot. Let's start by just analyzing a typical first half Gonzaga offensive possession. You'll notice no one holds the ball for more than a second before doing something with it, and this keeps the defense trailing and under pressure the whole time. Dribbling towards a teammate triggers a backdoor cut, but no spacing for the pass, so they go to Drew Timme down low with the excellent footwork into a McHale-like reverse. Gonzaga utilizes the pick and roll to force the defense to rotate and help on the weak side, specifically with the bump down. Watch how Campbell drops to help on the roll man. This allows the pass to go to his man on the wing where they can attack the closeout on the catch, where Gonzaga gets middle penetration and there's very little the defense can do. Same concept on this play as again Campbell is forced to rotate down to the roll man. This gives Ayayi a wide open shot and 3 of his 22 points. This is in direct contrast to UCLA's extremely deliberate offense, where they would dribble at least 10 seconds off the clock on every half-court possession. In my mind, this plays right into the hands of Gonzaga's vaunted defense, as they have to make a wing catch 40 feet from the basket and then generate a tough and contested long two. They started out very passive against the press, which made zero sense to me, with guys like Jaquez and Juzang push the ball and let them create something. Instead, they allow the shot clock to be an extra defender until running some pistol action by handing it off into a ball screen going downhill. Everything is covered up by the defense, necessitating a face-up contested 16-footer. A concept that will come up again in this video is helping one pass away, particularly off the corner. Help should never come from the strong side here, especially when it's off of a shooter like Jaquez. Either Timme or Ayayi should be rotating. Instead, it's a wide open shot. Again, they take 16 seconds off before they even look at the basket, allowing the pressure to push them almost to half court. All they have left off of this possession is to give the keys to Juzang and hope for the best, which was awesome all night long. You can see why I was so upset they didn't attack the Gonzaga press every time based on these two possessions, when for some reason they finally opened it up and generated the best looks they got all tournament long practically. There were some interesting calls by the referees in this game, so I brought in Chip Clark, a men's college basketball official, to help clarify some of them. Chip, thank you so much for joining us. We had some plays to break down. Let's get through it. Let's start in the beginning of the second half. We have a curl by Jaquez going to the basket with a post move. Very nice finish. No one seemed to notice though, but there was some fancy footwork going on here. I think we have an issue with what happened. They might have missed. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, listen, first of all, great move to the basket. That dribble drive, it can be effective. But in this situation, it looks like he ends that dribble with the right foot on the floor, okay? Now, when he goes to turn and pivot back into the middle of the lane, we see him reset that pivot foot. Now, listen, if he would have kept it in its point of contact with the floor and then did a legitimate pivot on this play, then this would be legal. But because he resets it and moves it to a different point of contact on the floor, that right foot, that's where you're going to have your traveling violation. This one looked like one that needed to be called live, and after review, that confirms this one was a miss. We could have been done a little bit better on this one.
For sure. Now, great finish and nice lefty on the hook over Timme, so let's give him some credit for that. But yeah, both feet kind of come off the floor as he splits them after he picks the dribble up, so kind of a no-no. But Okay, we've got more from Chip, but first let's analyze another possession by UCLA. Remember what I said about helping one pass away off a corner shooter? This happened enough to make it seem like it's actually encouraged, but mind-boggling if you're doing it off of Juzang. And that brings us to what everyone was buzzing about. Tie game, 2 minutes left, and UCLA finally gets into an attack on the right side. They can't get the ball to attack Timmy in the post with his 4 fouls, so Campbell smartly runs his man right into Riley in the post. This catches Suggs out of position on the perfect pocket pass for the dunk. Wait, what? This complete play was so exhilarating, I don't even know if I have the proper words to describe what is unfolding to give the Zags a crucial 2-point lead with so little time left. We have, probably the best play I've ever seen of all time in a Final Four.
It was a good one.
It was. Now, let's touch upon the block real quickly. Clean to you?
Absolutely. Very clean block. And what an individual effort right there by Suggs. I mean, this block right here, and you've got the center official and the trail official who officiate up top on these drives to the basket, right? They're responsible for any of the contact up top. And it was incredible patience by the officials as well to let the play start, develop, and finish, process the entire play, and respond to it rather than react. This, especially down the stretch in a close game like this, you want to be tightened up as a crew. And what a great effort by Suggs and a really good job by the officiating crew not to bite on this. We've got a block up top. He gets partially the ball, partially the hand. Now, as we know by Rule 418 of our NCAA men's rule book, when we talk about the illegal and legal use of hands, we know the hand is part of the ball. Now, I want to point out something real quick, Coach. When he blocks that ball, it goes off. It ends up going off the front of the rim. Okay. Now, we also see Suggs follow through and hit the net. Mm-hmm. This is something that not a lot of people are talking about because that could be a potential basket interference play. We see a clean block. They processed that very well. On the block and the follow through, Suggs hits that net with the ball touching the front of the rim. Now, we know basket interference, all right? For it to be basket interference, he's got to touch the ball or any part of the basket. The net is part of the basket while the ball is on or within the basket. This was not on or within the basket. Therefore, the officials correctly ruled that this is not a basket interference on this play and let the play continue.
Okay.
And now, as we know, we've got the second part of this play that's going to be a real good one as well.
Great. I'm glad you read my mind about the potential grabbing the net and having that be an interference, but great explanation there. So then we have people getting upset because Suggs is out of bounds, comes back in. There's always getting this call mixed up and error-filled when we're figuring out how to get back in bounds before you touch the ball. So there's a couple different rules we got to, I think, worry about here. What's the first most important one in order for him to make this legal?
Listen, the most important one, and we've got a lot of people asking about, is it 1 foot to reestablish in bounds? Is it 2 feet? Don't think of it that way. Think of it like this: the location of the player. Where was the location of the player when Suggs touched the ball? All right. And here's what we need to understand: the location of the player is where they are touching on the floor, as far as being in bounds or out of bounds by Rule 423, where they are touching on the floor. Okay. So here's the deal: he's touching on the floor at the time of touching the ball. Where is he touching? He's got his left foot touching where? In bounds, right? Is any part of his body touching out of bounds at that moment? No. Therefore, he has inbound location and status. All right. That player has reestablished inbounds. That is the location of the player when he touches the ball. Therefore, he is inbounds, and this is a legal play. Now, there's another element of it you and I have talked about, which is there's people that have been bringing up, if he goes out of bounds on his own volition, can he be the first to touch the ball when he returns back in bounds? In this play, this is a block, and his momentum carries him towards the out-of-bounds line, okay, towards the boundary line. In this situation, he has no clue where he is. This is not him going out of bounds on his own volition and returning and being the first to touch the ball in the court. So that rule does not apply. That's going to be Rule 9.3 in the NCAA men's rule book. That player out of bounds does not apply on this play, and therefore it is a legal play start to finish and one of the best plays in that sequence that I've ever seen in men's college basketball. Great play by Suggs.
Great, and great explanation by you also to lead us then to one of the amazing pass he makes to make a dunk, which, again, a crazy great. Down 2 with 90 seconds left, the Bruins find themselves again in the same type of attack and inability to find a pass down low, so they again make Riley into a ball screener, and this time Juzang isn't going to pass this one, nailing the shot to tie it up. It's the Bulldogs' turn to get passive on offense, stagnating and unable to mount any sort of attack where the ball gets below the free throw line, as the UCLA defense hounds them at every turn. The risky pass almost gets stolen or deflected, and the drive and step back doesn't fall. But watch how Kispert just overpowers Jaquez under the hoop, commands position, and then gets it right back over him to take the 2-point lead. They run UCLA high post action into a ball screen for Jaquez. The slip ball screen doesn't help him get an advantage, so he is forced to ISO into the lane. This was a very dubious call, rewarded by the excellent footwork and hyper-aggressive move, yet it would appear that Kispert only contacts the ball. However, 2 free throws give us another tie. Gonzaga runs a pick and roll knowing UCLA is switching everything, and they get what they want, a mismatch down low with Juzang guarding Timmy. Credit Juzang for preventing the entry pass, leading to Kispert forcing up a shot against the shot clock ticking down. Now, we have at the end of regulation, the UCLA, they let him go and not call a timeout, and we have Juzang go to the basket hard, and Timmy tries to take a charge. This is one of those calls where a lot of times fans will say, oh, refs swallow their whistles, they never call a foul in the NBA. We certainly see this. A lot of contact. I think the ref needed to do something. Did he get it right?
Absolutely got it right. Great call by Ron Groover as the lead official on this play. Process the play. He sees the defender, Timmy, step up and obtain a legal guarding position, which we know by rule is, and for NCAA men's, both feet on the floor facing your opponent. All right. Timmy does that. He is no longer moving into the ball handler. So he is allowed to move, but even doesn't have to in this play. He establishes with both feet on the floor facing the opponent, and then absorbs all the contact into his torso. By rule, this is a charge and an incredible call by our lead official on this play in a very clutch moment. You've talked about it. Some officials don't want to use their whistle at the end of the game because they don't want to decide the game. This play needed a whistle, and he was there to deliver on it. Clutch call and a great call at that.
Anything about the right hand coming down by Timmy to protect himself that would indicate you're not allowed to do that at all?
That's a really good point. And no, you are allowed to soften the blow. He does keep his right arm tucked towards his body, so it's just like his body right there. Now, after the contact, one thing that's interesting that people are pointing out is once he absorbs that contact to his torso by the ball handler, you see him hits that arm, and then as he's falling, he kind of has his right arm come out a little bit, okay? That's a natural reaction on that. That is not him pushing. By then, the illegal contact has already occurred anyway. It wouldn't be a double foul. The initial contact was the illegal contact of him absorbing it. He was a legal defender when he absorbed contact. Therefore, by rule, this is a charging call and a correct call.
In overtime, Drew Timmy took over early via the pick and roll. Riley wants to hedge and holds this position a beat too long, enabling an open pass to Timmy. The recovery is there, but Timmy stretches his steps so he can get it up quick without needing to dribble, using the right-left off both feet for power and the and one. This time they get a switch and a complete mismatch inside the lane as Timmy goes to work on the simple drop step to the baseline for the easy lefty layup off both feet. In transition, Gonzaga misses a chance to attack that same matchup down low again. For some reason, Timmy is willing to set a ball screen and allow UCLA to switch into a more preferable matchup, but that reason must be that he knows he can kill Jaquez down there too. The gorgeous stop and spin and step through with another tough lefty finish gives them a big 4-point lead. UCLA clearly wanted Riley to go at Timmy in the post, where he had some success, but Jaquez gets spooked by Ayayi lurking on the weak side and doesn't throw it. This leads to Suggs getting caught not in a defensive stance, blown by, and forcing Timmy to step up and help. The very simple pass gets Riley a crucial and open 17-footer. With that 2-point lead, watch out Gonzaga knows they can force a switch on a Timmy ball screen, but it also means they've got a mismatch with Riley trying to guard Nembhard, who hits him with a vicious step-back three-pointer. Obviously, college rules are different than the pros, so when we see the hardened step-backs, and I have to spend all the time explaining why they're illegal, it doesn't necessarily apply the same way to college. So can you walk us through what happens on this play and whether or not this could have been a legal play or a travel?
Absolutely. So let's go over the rule first. So on this particular rule, the traveling rule for NCAA men's, it's just like high school and other levels where, except for the NBA and FIBA, where if you end your dribble with one foot on the floor and you push off that foot into a staggered landing, left, right, left, whatever, if that pivot foot, which is the foot you ended your dribble on, is lifted from the floor and returned to the floor, other than a simultaneous landing on both feet, okay, I have to clarify that, then it would be a traveling violation. However, I want to be very clear about something on this. We see him in his dribble. Now, it took us slow motion. In many people, it took slow motion, having to see it in slow motion to see that there's potentially a chance that he ended his dribble on his right foot and then stepped left to right, okay? If that happened, then that is a traveling violation. However, in the moment, game speed, we have to, as officials, see 100% certain that that dribble has ended before we can look to identify a pivot foot. So there's a margin for error. If he ended that dribble, and we're talking game speed here, if he ended that dribble and then the officials glance to the feet, which in this case, I believe it's in an intersecting coverage area, if I'm correct, near the top of the key, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So we have an intersecting coverage area where we see there's no competitive matchups in front of the C, and the trail doesn't have any competitive matchup except that one. They're both looking at this play because they both marked the three-point attempt, right? So we see them both looking at this. Both of them passed on this because once you see that dribble end and then you look to the feet in live game speed, you see his both feet off the floor by the time you can glance to his feet. I like a no call on this one, especially when you consider time and score and the type of game it was. By rule, if you end your dribble with 1 foot on the floor, push off that and land staggered, it's going to be a violation in high school and college. But in this situation, I like the no call on this one, even though it's a tough one. But we have the liberty to go back and look in slow-mo. They don't have that liberty on the court. And in the casebook, I want to say one more thing. I know I'm rambling on this, but with the NCAA men's casebook, if it is unclear and uncertain, if the official's uncertain that the dribbler ended his dribble with 1 foot on the floor, or both feet off the floor, the benefit of the doubt goes to the dribbler having made a legal play. That is word for word in the NCAA men's casebook. So on marginal calls like this, on ones that we cannot be absolute certain at game speed, we need to give the benefit of the doubt to the ball handler in this situation, which led to a shot attempt, and they ruled legal play. I'm going to support the ruling on the floor.
Fair enough. And kind of a half dagger because I gave them a 5-point lead with a minute left.
Absolutely.
Probably more argument for the allowing the gather step, because if they did, then that would be legal no matter what. So hopefully we move toward that. This is my 2 cents. But Chip, thank you so much for breaking this down for us. I really appreciate it. Great stuff, and looking forward to doing more.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach Nick. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, guys.
Down to crunch time, and we've talked about the folly of helping one pass away. Well, being in early help position like Kispert is here is similar. A good college shooter can catch and shoot within 0.6 to 0.7 seconds, and giving him over 10 feet of space on the catch is like giving him a wide open shot. It takes Jaquez 0.62 to get this one off and cuts the lead to 2. Gonzaga is willing to run the clock down and get a good shot and take their chances with UCLA's final possession. I liked the initial move by Suggs, but thought he should have kept going to the basket for a short shot and potential foul call on free throws. Instead, it's reset back to the top, and Nebhart tries to create off the mismatch on Riley after the switch. Why he didn't shoot this after the nice fake, I have no idea. And the open shot is a lot less open with the great contest from Jaquez, and the Bulldogs come up empty. Out of timeouts, the Bruins turn to Juzang for a little more magic, getting a switch on the initial ball screen, leading Juzang to penetrate for the little floater. The short miss falls right back into his hands again for a game-tying layup. But instead of Gonzaga calling timeout, Mark Feud trusts his players. They immediately break down the court, and this is where the country erupted as Jalen Suggs gets 2 steps inside of half court, elevates over the defense, and banks this shot in to win the game. Okay, so this was a straight-on shot that hit out the glass. No way he intended it, but so what? It just adds to the incredible nature of the game, and more importantly, the 2 plays Suggs made that transcended the sport and will no doubt spur him on to a top 3 pick in the NBA draft and a terrific pro career. For UCLA, they battled and forced Gonzaga to have to execute at the highest of their powers to barely snatch this game away. So they have nothing to hang their heads about. And it leaves us with a highly anticipated finals matchup, one that I have to believe will go the Bulldogs' way. As we get towards the end of the season and the playoffs, make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications to get the latest breakdowns on the NBA. Plus, I've got a YouTube membership with tons of extra content you won't want to miss. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and throw a comment down below. Plus, don't forget about your Manscaped discount. After all, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?